Welcome back to the office that is home. It's also known as the home office. Welcome to the last video in the Independence of the Seas playlist.
Yes, if you're just tuning in, we went on Independence of the Seas by Royal Caribbean in November of 2019. So we've been back for a little bit and we've posted a lot of vlogs, did some room tours, ship tour, all that good stuff. So if you missed any of that, definitely check out the playlist that's linked and get in on all those goodies. But today, we are doing our nitty-gritty review where we basically talk about everything that's on the ship, how we felt about it, and how the ship ranks in our opinion.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen any of our other ship reviews, we came up with our own rubric where we grade each category on a scale of 1 to 5, and there are 5 categories. Now, our typical disclaimer of this is not the end-all be-all. We're not saying we're 100% right. This is just our opinion and our take on it.
And our experience for that specific sailing.
Right, because that's all we can go off of. So one thing we should probably go ahead and mention is that Independence of the Seas was the first Royal Caribbean ship to receive Royal Amplification, which is where Royal Caribbean takes about $100 million, 120, somewhere around there, throws it into the ship and adds all these fun new features, updates it, kind of, you know, spruces it up, jazzes it up. It's a lot of fun. So the reason I bring that up is because other ships have received this as well that we've gone on that are in a different class. So Independence, of course, is in the Freedom class of ships, but we've been on Mariner and Navigator, which are in the Voyager class of ships. And these are pretty similar. Freedom class is a little bit bigger, maybe hit a couple of different things there, but they're very similar. And the reason I bring that up is because you'll hear us kind of probably make some comparisons between the two as we go through this review. So with that said, let's just hop right into it. We're gonna give you our thoughts, starting with the first category, public spaces.
Yes, so by public spaces, we're talking about spaces that are in the public. General areas that you can go to in the ship, decor, theming, aesthetic, all that kind of good stuff.
Yes, things such as the Centrum area, which is kind of like the art gallery and the photo studio.
I did really like how the art gallery and the photo studio thing was set up. It was very roomy, it wasn't crowded, and the photo studio has upgraded to the digital
yes.
photo, because you know the old style where they take your picture in the like in the dining room or out on the pier or something, and they print all of them and they hang them up on the wall.
Where's our chopped grill photos, Meredith? I can't find them. It says day 2 right here. Oh, it's right behind the Johnsons. Now I found it.
But this one was new. It was basically like iPads when you scan your seat pass, you flip through. So that was really nice.
You also have Studio B, of course, which is a multi-use space. You can do all kinds of things in there. I mean, you can ice skate in there, you can go to laser tag, you can see the ice skating show, and sometimes some other like fun, you know, like the Quest game show or stuff like that. It's
such a good space. I mean, anytime you can use one space for multiple fun things, it's a win.
I like that. Another big public space, this one is more the big deal on these ships than the Centrum, is the Royal Promenade.
We actually utilized the Royal Promenade on this sailing more than we ever had before, because of our room had a promenade view. So we were kind of in the groove, in the haps of the Royal Promenade this whole sailing. If you're not familiar with the Promenade, we always kind of like refer to it as like kind of the mall space, kind of your deck that has a lot of shops, a lot of lounges, a lot of food areas.
Yeah, exactly. So you got like all kinds of shops, as you mentioned, to get your sundries and your toiletries, medications, things like that. Some food, little snacky items here or there, or your merch. And you have some good food options though too, like Ben & Jerry's ice cream was right across from our stateroom.
Yeah.
You know, the cows on top. Jen and Barry. Our last shout out to Jen and Barry.
We'll miss you.
Well, we miss Moo.
We miss Moo you.
And right next to that was the Sugar Beach candy store.
My favorite place of the whole ship. Yeah, it's a grab bag candy shop. I was really glad that our room was across from those two things, because it's two very colorful things to look at all the time. So I did like that about this promenade, that it had some kind of special things like that in it, but not only were they special, but they were you know, they were themed fun.
2 food areas. You do have Sorrento's Pizza, of course, the included pizzeria place that's usually open late, and Cafe Promenade for all your like pastries and cookies and little sandwiches, coffee, drinks, stuff like that. Open 24 hours a day. Both of those located in the Promenade as well. In addition, there were some other lounges. Did have vintages, of course, the wine bar, and there was a champagne bar, as well as the Ale and Anchor pub.
The Ale and Anchor specifically is cool because a lot of times they'll do like karaoke and stuff in there, or they'll just have like very small live music.
So then right next to that, and continuing on with our public spaces, they did of course have guest services, as every ship does, and then a shore excursion desk, although a very, very small one. So then of course, next thing up on the public spaces, big deal, pool deck.
I will say it's not the most impressive one that we've seen, but it's also not a dud.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's one of the better basic ones that we've seen.
Yeah, and because we say that, we've talked about Navigator specific, but the line in the coconut pool deck and bar, you're starting to see that implemented on newer Royal Caribbean ships, and it really just makes things nice, really spruces it up, lots of color and fun. This ship didn't have that, but it did have some other nice features like opposing pools with like a stage area in the middle.
It made sense, and I don't know, it felt like less crowded because there was more room.
But I thought something that was really nice, we didn't utilize this because we're not children, but they did have a nice splash away bay area, like a really nice one.
Like the best one we've seen.
It was really, really intricate. It had a lot of stuff into it.
Well, it was really big, and like they had a lot of cool features. Like they had like the little sprayers, and then they had like the big bucket that would fill up and then dump. I think that would be something worth considering if you have kids, because it was so well done.
I agree. Yeah, we didn't use it, but it looked like a lot of fun. So next to all of that, you would find some more kind of standard fare offerings, whirlpools, of course the outdoor movie screen, every ship's got it. The pool bar and the Sky Lounge, both there present as well. Then there was the Solarium. Which
the Solarium is an adult only area, and by adult only I mean 16 and over, because that's the age restriction. It has whirlpools, it has loungers, it has like kind of a quiet pool.
So pretty standard issue Solarium. It didn't have like the intricate Asian styling and decorations of say Jewel of the Seas. It wasn't as massive with multi-levels like an Oasis class or a Quantum class ship has. Just more of your, here's a nice quiet spot. Now we did have some other public spaces, some more lounges we should probably talk about, and these are going to be more of the Royal Caribbean staples that you'll find on pretty much every ship, like Boleros, the Latin Lounge, and Schooner Bar. Of course, you'll always see that one. One more lounge we should mention is the Star Lounge. This can be found at the forward part of the ship. It has kind of a cool Egyptian theme, though it's really subtle. You kind of have to sit down and really look at like the columns. This was just kind of your event space, maybe, like little game shows, Finish the Lyric, family. They don't call it Family Feud, but whatever they call it. Carnival got the legitimate Family Feud trademark copyright, like so.
They're like, no, Royale, you can't use that. You use that generic name.
Yeah.
It's a very large space.
It is
so
large.
Like things that'll bring in the big crowds, it's gonna be here.
It's gonna be here. So when we go up to the top of the ship, we'll find the last public space areas, which is kind of just all mixed together. So right there on deck 14, you'll have the Oliver Twist bar.
Isn't that funny?
Oliver Twist.
Oliver, like Oliver.
Yeah.
I just got it. I was thinking.
I got it.
I was thinking olive in a drink or a twist.
Right.
But I didn't get the double meaning. I just got the single meaning.
Oliver Twist.
May I have some more?
No! That's exactly how it went.
Our English accents are so bad.
Yes, olive or twist, just a kind of loungy bar area. This was the Cosmopolitan bar on Navigator, and the Ellington's on Mariner, which was my favorite iteration of this, by the way.
Yeah.
But it's pretty much the same space. They do adult karaoke, they have the late night dance party in there, there's a bar. And then we do have some other exclusive space. We have the Diamond Club for Diamond, Diamond Plus, and Pinnacle members. And then we have the Suite Lounge, of course, for Suite guests.
And Pinnacle.
And Pinnacle. They get everything.
They're special.
But they've earned it. I mean,
oh, you've earned it.
You really earned it.
You're a Pinnacle.
You're wearing the badge.
You've earned it.
So those are all the public spaces available on Independence of the Seas. And a lot of nice features, a lot of things. Nothing that we thought was bad in any way. So we gave it a 4. A 4 out of 5 because nice offerings, nothing displeasing. we've seen some better things along the way in certain categories. So a 4 feels about right. So now we'll move on to the next category, which is accommodations.
Right, so by accommodations we mean our room.
Yes.
And staterooms in general that they offer on this ship.
And we always make the disclaimer with this category that we can't really see any other staterooms except our own. So we go based off of what we stayed in, as well as because we are travel agents, we are aware of the other kind of staterooms that are offered. So we'll also throw the curvature of that into that grade. How many kind of staterooms can you get on this beyond just interior ocean view balcony suite? How does it break down beyond that?
Yeah, anything special.
Yeah, exactly. They do have, of course, those 4 main categories that I just mentioned. Pretty much every ship has those. But some special offerings on this ship, well, not unique to this ship, but just not every ship has them. They did have what we mentioned, our promenade view room. Considered an interior still, but you have a window to view out there. So you also have the spacious interior and spacious ocean view, spacious balcony. So pretty obvious, just a little bit bigger of each of those kind of rooms. Spacious, luxurious,
and spacious.
And then also the panoramic ocean view. Now these have been really popular. We've heard good things from our clients, from you guys about these rooms. Some people saying they're even better than a balcony.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the I always do this, floor to ceiling windows. Standard stuff, and then a couple nice options, nothing crazy. And as far as suites, that's another thing where it'll vary from ship to ship. If you go on an Oasis class ship, it'll be like all kinds of suites that you can dream of. This one, more standard, run of the mill.
And also a consideration too is if you are in a suite, does it have the Royal Suite class, which is special offerings that ship will offer if you're in a suite, and this ship does not offer Royal Suite class. But stay tuned because we will be talking about Royal Suite class.
Yes. Soon. But now going back to our room, so let's talk about cleanliness. I thought our room was clean. I didn't...
Oh yeah, there was no issues. Honestly, there wasn't even really many scuffs or anything.
But let's talk about style. Style? We want to talk about style?
Look at that bow tie.
Oh, look at that bow tie.
This one was definitely a more dated room. It wasn't the most dated we've ever been in, but it was definitely a lot more dated than a lot of other ships than we've been on. We did not have a brand new room, and it didn't seem like they changed up the style at all from that amplification.
I wouldn't expect to be in a newly stylized room, a modern room.
Yeah, it's definitely not modern at all.
Now, let's talk about the most funny, ironic thing about this stateroom and this cruise. The whole reason we got a promenade view room is because several of you guys, our clients, have asked, how's the noise? I want to get the promenade, but I'm afraid of the noise. They do the activities. So we said, okay, you know what? We'll put it to the test. We're going to get the room that's closest to the little bridge that they do all the performances on. And we're going to test this noise. And you know what? This was the noisiest stateroom we ever stayed in, and it had nothing to do with that.
Our particular room was right next to like a service hallway for the crew members. And there was a door that went about like 50 years too long of not getting any WD-40.
Every time. All night. All day.
Every time.
Forever. Something else to keep in mind though, a lot of noise came from because we had a connecting room. We weren't traveling with anyone. The doors remained closed and locked the whole time, but the noise came through the connecting door a lot. And even if you do all that and avoid the service hall and you avoid the connecting room door, the noise level from the hallway through the main entrance door of the cabin was the most we've ever heard.
Right.
And not because of loud, I mean, it was just anything was traveling through. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, it was the loudest. And we're not sensitive to noise. Noise doesn't usually bother us.
No,
but we noticed it on this one. So all of that said, all in all, you know, this wasn't the best of times, the worst. No, it wasn't the best of rooms and styles and offerings, and it wasn't the worst either. We felt this was pretty middle of the road. So we gave this a 3. Next category on the list here is
activities.
All right, Jamie Lee Curtis. No, activities, fun stuff, fun times, lots of things to do on this here vessel. So, Studio B with the ice skating. We're not talking about the show right now. That'll be in the next category. But when you actually go yourself on the ice and ice skate.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You go, you rent some skates.
It's so dangerous. You'll have to sign a waiver. It's true. You have to sign a waiver.
You do. It's true.
It's not a joking matter. I don't know why you guys are laughing.
It's serious. It's safety.
Okay.
I will say though, these are the best ice skating skates I've ever gotten.
They weren't like tie lace up.
No,
like
they were click click.
Cinch click click.
It was like whoop, click click, and then it's done. It was kind of like I don't know, like a ratchet?
Yeah, ratchet strap action.
Plastic rapid strappy. Ratchet strap action.
There we go. Laser tag, which we've always just said they had laser tag. Now we have to start clarifying because Royale's introducing a new laser tag game. This one, Battle for Planet Z.
Right.
Robots, aliens, so fun.
It is so fun, and as we mentioned previously, the equipment's so good, the lasers work well.
Laser?
How come you don't have a laser?
What's with him? Laser envy.
I will say with Independence, because it's a slightly larger ship than Mariner and Navigator, which is the other ships that we've done, Battle for Planet Z, this one seemed more crowded, I think just because there are more guests on the ship. I mean, we waited like an hour.
An hour. The one time we did it, it was an hour. Nothing horrible, but the activity staff on this ship maybe wasn't the best.
Yeah.
They were a little abrasive about things, and
there was a few occasions where the activity staff maybe wasn't as joyful as we're typically used to. Nothing crazy bad, nothing huge issue, just like little things, and the laser tag was one of those.
And that was just one time. There was other things too. But let's get back to talking about the fun things. Casino Royale, of course, every Royal Caribbean ship has it. This one, a very standard, run-of-the-mill casino. Same thing, typical with the spa and fitness center. Seemed to be pretty standard issue.
Seems like it has everything you need. Nothing that really stuck out as very unique.
Yeah, exactly. And we already talked about the pool in the Splashaway Bay. That was a plus.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure, for the kids there. Speaking of kids, we do have, of course, Adventure Ocean, Royal Caribbean's children's program for the varying ages, different age groups, as well as fuel and living room for the teens and preteens.
The different age groups were pretty close to each other, but in separate rooms. One thing that was a tiny bit odd with the children's area is fuel, which is typically a teens area. It was partially being used as like a free space for toddler play.
Yeah.
So it like wasn't anything official, but it was definitely the majority of the sailing, it was being used as such. I guess it makes sense when they do have the living room, which is the more elaborate teen space.
And that was right off of one side of Challenger's Arcade, and then the Adventure Ocean stuff was on the other side of Challenger's Arcade.
Which, speaking of Challenger's Arcade, this was like the best arcade we've ever been on, on a ship. So if you have a kiddo that's really into a good arcade or likes having a lot of different games, this is probably the best one we've seen on a ship.
It was in our top 5.
It was.
You can go back and check that video out. We've already done that one. It'll be in the playlist as well. Now let's get up to the real fun stuff we think. The stuff that we really like going up and doing. Up at the sports court area, outside, on deck. So we have the basketball court, full size. Rock climbing wall, full size, standard issue. I guess they say full size. It's like the middle of the road. Go on Oasis, it's like, it's El Capitan! We'll never make it! We've got to climb the wall to get back to Castle Black! FlowRider is a thing that's pretty... I knew you were gonna laugh at that.
I was trying not to, but... FlowRider!
FlowRider, of course, is an offering on a lot of Royal Caribbean ships. Not all of them, but several have it, and this is no different. There's only the one, not the double like you see on Oasis class, but it does have the FlowRider Action there. Now, some things that are a little bit different. Waterslides, Perfect Storm, Typhoon and Cyclone. Basically the exact same slide. It's colored for part of it, it's clear for part of it. It goes in loops. Goes out over the ship a little bit. Although I thought these were slower than on Mariner.
Yeah, I agree.
A little bit slower.
Yeah, I agree.
Same kind of, it's like basically the same exact slide, a little slower. Water slides to be had though. Two things you could also find on Mariner that were here on Independence of the Seas. The Sky Climber, which is like the little multi-level pad netted climb thing. But maybe the main attraction, right? When you look at one of these ships, Independence or Mariner, any ship that has this, the Sky Pad.
Right, which the Sky Pad is big, round sphere, has holes in it, it lights up at night. Very beautiful. And inside, you have these trampoline, bungee, bouncy things that you can just jump on if that's what you want to do, or you can put on the virtual reality, take you into space goggles while you bounce, and you play like a little game while you're doing it.
That's pretty cool. So the two other activities that we mentioned we haven't talked about yet, Independence Dunes, the mini golf course, 9-hole, basically exact same if you saw it on Mariner or you saw it on Navigator, except one of our favorite things was Clams Casino Plinko, where you hit it into the clamshell and then it hit the little clamshells going down. They didn't have that.
No, I mean, they still had the hole, they just didn't have the clam Plinko.
I don't know what that was about. So,
I don't know.
Slight downgrade there.
Maybe people were like walking on the clams or something.
Oh no! And the last thing, this one is a doozy, is the escape room. So Royal Caribbean has now introduced escape rooms on several of their ships, and they have several different themes.
This escape room was Observatorium, which is the same as on Mariner Navigator. However, the theme is the same, but the puzzles are completely different. So it is a completely new experience when you go and do it.
Unfortunately, our experience with this escape room was not the best, and if you want the full story and details, you can check out the day 6 and 7 vlogs.
Right.
Kind of a continuation there. Just to give you a quick idea, we went up to play the game, there was like 5 of us, and then a group of like 6 other people was supposed to be there, or 7 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they showed up late, and then they kept showing up in stages, and it kept interrupting the game. And if you've ever done an escape room, it's just not gonna work like that.
Yeah, you know how that doesn't work.
So it completely fell apart. We weren't even close. Obviously that was probably just a one-off. I don't think you would expect that to happen every time it did to us.
Take away the circumstantial things of the issues we had. This just particular escape room was definitely the most difficult that we've done, and not difficult as in just challenging, difficult as in there were certain portions where it was very close to impossible to be able to solve it independently. And by independent, I mean without the moderator's help.
And just going back to our personal experience, again, this is what we were talking about with the activities team. Unfortunately, this situation probably wasn't handled the way it should have been at the escape room itself. And then we had to go to guest services, and even the guest services crew member was rudely dismissed and not taken serious by the activities leader.
Yeah.
Who she called to address this with.
You know, there was just some like very minor things throughout the sailing, like certain activities started late.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of made things go over in time, and that made you late to other things, which is very uncommon. You know, these aren't like very huge things, but it's just things that are a little bit uncommon. There wasn't, things didn't seem simpatico in the activities department.
I think worth mentioning and worth being aware of. Yeah. With all of that said, lots of great features to be had on this ship. Some areas where it came up a little bit short in the activities department. So I think a 4 is worthy.
Yeah. The offerings are there.
Yes.
And they're great offerings, and they're so much fun, and this ship has a lot, and it's all so good. There was just a few things with our personal experience that didn't make it a perfect 5. But I would still recommend all of these things to anyone.
Sure, definitely. All right, so transitioning from activities, which is more of like the things that you go and do, we'll now move into entertainment, which is things you go and watch other people do. For Independence of the Seas, we're gonna be talking about things inside the Royal Theater, including a Broadway show. Grease! Grease lightning! Grease. Grease is the word. The Grease. Grease was a fantastic show. A full-on production, great set pieces, fantastic acting, which is nice because a lot of times with Royal's original productions, they don't do a lot of acting. It's mainly singing and dancing. Right. But this is being a Broadway show, it brought the whole thing, so. I
mean, this is huge. Having a legit Broadway show on this ship is a huge selling point for this ship. It was definitely one of the highlights of the sailing for
Oh,
us.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Packed house, get there early. We also had some headliner shows. Now, of course, these change from each sailing. It could be different depending on which one you go on, but we always like to include it because it's a little indicative of who is arranging these entertainment and lining it up and what kind of acts they get. And we enjoyed the headliners. There was a comedian. They had these guys who were like singers and dancers. And
Yeah, it was like a Motown group.
that was a good show.
It was a really...
That was a good time. And then the guy who was a juggler, but he also did like whips.
Yeah, he like snapped whips.
He had all kinds of like Guinness records and stuff. I don't know. They also had an original production in the Royal Theater called Once Upon a Time, and I'm laughing because I just like okay. Oh, okay.
I liked it. No, I liked it was the gist of it was that they took classic fairy tale characters and put them to modern music.
So that was for the Royal Theater. Then of course Studio B, we did have ice skating show. Freeze frame.
Freeze frame. I think the idea was like snapshots in time.
Yeah.
So they had like 70s disco, and then they had like 60s.
Well, it was a very enjoyable show. Phenomenally talented skaters. What they can do is just so impressive.
On a little itty bitty
bit of
ice rink.
Having said that, it wasn't, we like the ones on Mariner and Navigator more, but that's just personal.
Regardless, I think everyone should absolutely go and see the ice show and get a front row seat.
And then we also had some nightly entertainment, things that kind of just changed. So like live performers, live music, maybe boleros, or in the Star Lounge, or the Schooner Bar with a piano player.
Yeah.
And all of that was, we didn't really take any of that in per se. We kind of just, you know, you hear it as you freeze by, but it was nice. One thing I really enjoyed though, and like we mentioned with the Promenade View room on this ship, was they did those parties at night in the Promenade.
Which we never go to. We like breeze by. That's usually what we do with those
Because it's
things.
so crowded.
But our room was right next to the bridge, so we could watch it from the comfort of our own home.
70s night disco party, 80s night rocking out.
With
Pac-Man and a ghost. The red one. I still don't know the name. Said we were gonna look it up, we didn't.
We're gonna do it right now because this is our last chance.
Blinky.
It is Blinky.
It is Blinky. So with all of that said, with some definite highlights here with Grease, anytime you can get a Broadway show, it's great. You have an ice skating show, you have these different activities, but you know, it wasn't, maybe some things weren't as good as on other ships, or just didn't have like a huge gamut of offerings.
No, I mean, there's definitely, we know and have sailed on other ships that offer more in the entertainment department.
So, but it averages out to a 4. 4 out of 5 for entertainment.
Last category.
All right, last category.
We definitely enjoy some food.
We enjoy to dine.
First, let's talk about the main dining room because that is the main location, the only real restaurant that you have included to you. And we did not go for dinner, but we did go for breakfast.
And it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, the dining room, the style and look of it was pretty standard to any Royal Caribbean dining room, so there was no surprises there. The breakfast, I thought it was fine. It was okay. It wasn't something I would go out of my way for again, but like, I'm glad that we did it. Let's stay on this included realm. Windjammers is the buffet that is included on your sailing. They have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Completely free, snackies, all the kinds of stuff, and I was happy with this Windjammer. You got everything that was pretty typical with a Windjammer. I thought the quality was good. There was nothing I had where I thought like, oh, they could have done better. I thought everything was, but I enjoyed everything I had.
One other note of included dining here is Sorrento's. We mentioned that earlier in the Promenade.
So Sorrento's is gonna be your pizza.
This is of the day though. So it's worth mentioning. I don't know if some people don't realize that is when you go to Sorrento's, like pretty much every day they're gonna have pepperoni, cheese, and like the vegetarian, I guess they call it.
Yeah, like Supreme.
But each day they have a pizza of the day, so it could be like the Caribbean Dream, which is fantastic, I highly recommend it, or like a barbecue chicken, carnivore, which is all meat, that's my other big one. So check each day because it'd be something different.
And Cafe Promenade, we mentioned that earlier, which is in the Royal Promenade. is very light fare, pastries,
Little sandies.
yeah.
Sandwiches. That's all your included dining on Independence of the Seas, but they do have a lot of options that are surcharged. So of course we're gonna start with specialty restaurants, which is what we live for.
Yes.
We love us some specialty restaurants, and we took part in some of those on the ship, starting
Not
with
some, all.
all. I misspoke.
All.
Let's start with Chops. So Chops is a Royal Caribbean staple. It's the steakhouse on board, and it's kind of like if you've seen one Chops, you've seen them all.
Are sometimes like a little tiny bit better than other ones, I think just because of the chef that they have.
Yes.
And this one was good. It wasn't the best chops we've ever had. That's Jewel of the Seas.
By far.
But it wasn't the worst chops experience that we had.
That's Mariner. We also went to Giovanni's table.
Yes, Italian fare.
Oh man, this was a good one.
This is definitely one of the best Giovanni's we've been to, and the menu was a bit updated since the last time we've been to Giovanni's, which was a nice, refreshing change.
Then we did something we'd never done before, which was Izumi Hibachi.
Hibachi,
Hibachi.
yeah. So this isn't offered on every ship. You see Izumi a lot, but it is not always the hibachi.
Had a lot of fun. They did the typical stuff. Now, it's worth mentioning, if you're into the fire tricks, you're not gonna see that. Because this is a cruise ship, they're not gonna do a huge open flame.
Yeah.
So no fire tricks, but a lot of the other stuff that you come to expect if you go to like a Kobe or a Shogun or a, what's the, Benihana.
Yeah, the show was fun. The food was great. I think it's really just personal preference as to whether or not the price is gonna be worth it to you or not.
Yeah. And it'd be like just any other hibachi restaurant you've been to. If you're a smaller party, you're gonna be sat with other people at a tepid table. Now we also hit some other things. So one thing that's kind of not really in a category, it's its own thing, is Playmakers.
It's a sports bar and grill, so you get
arcade.
And an arcade. So you get all those typical sports pub kind of foods, burgers, wings,
nachos,
that kind of stuff. And we really liked this Playmakers because it was so big.
Service was a little, it's always kind of odd in Playmakers. It's like, I don't think they have defined roles. Who's keeping bar, who's going to the tables and doing food, who's just monitoring the spot. I mean, they kind of just float in and out, so.
It's very casual. It's basically just like, I take your order, I bring you your food. That's kind of where this relationship ends. A little bit.
That's interesting.
And not in a bad way. I think it's just that casual.
Yeah. Another spot that's kind of also doesn't really have its own category is Fish and Chips. This is a newer offering.
It's out by the pool deck. It's a quick and serve fish and chips little thing.
A la carte, you have to pay additional for whatever you order, but we did this, we ate there, and it was good. And then along those lines, they also had a Johnny Rockets, a full-on restaurant Johnny Rockets, not a Johnny Rockets Express. We didn't dine there, but that was an option that was available, of course, at additional charge.
Right.
Two other things to mention, we kind of talked about them earlier, the ice cream parlor, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and that is an additional charge as well, and then Sugar Beach.
The candy store, which is also an extra charge. So just to make sure we are completely clear, the only food establishments that you are getting included, completely free to you with your cruise fare, is the main dining room, Windjammers, Sorrento's, and Cafe Promenade.
Yes.
Everything else will come at an additional charge. I really enjoyed the food on this ship. There wasn't really anything that I had that I did not like.
No.
I was happy with everything. I do think they could have a few more complimentary options.
Boardwalk Doghouse, a Loco Fresh. That's really what it should be, a Loco Fresh. But even when you go on,
Fresh should exist in every establishment.
Oh,
everywhere.
that's true. So yeah, we enjoyed everything we had. Nothing was bad. And there was a few things that were great, but maybe not as many again on other ships. So per kind of the theme here, it's a 4. All right, now that we have dining wrapped up, we'll give a quick recap here of all of our grades that we've handed out for each category. So starting with public spaces, we had a 4. Accommodations was a 3. Activities was a 4. Entertainment was a 4. And dining was a 4. So that total score is 19 out of 25. And if you were to average all of these, assuming that each category you weighed the same, if you average it out, it would come to a 3.8. 8.
I think the ship should be above average, above middle, because it has so much good stuff on it. It's a great ship and we thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes.
There was just maybe a couple things with our personal experience that, you know, made things tick down from a perfect 5. The closest comparison ship is Mariner of the Seas. I believe when we averaged that on the Mariner review, that one was a 4. So they're right there together.
And to be completely fair, you know, when we went on Mariner, it was like our first time being exposed to laser tag and Studio B and things like that. So now we've done it several times.
But what we really try to look at it as, we try to think of the whole picture. How does Independence measure up compared to other things that we've seen or other things that are out there? Because at the end of the day, if you're watching this review, it's probably because you're trying to decide if you want to go on this ship or not, or if you want to go on another ship instead. So, so yeah, I think Independence is a solid option and I would recommend it to anybody.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things, we had a few minor things with our personal sailing. Had it gone differently, you might have seen this shifted into a 4 point something. You know, go a little higher, but we can only go off of what we had. So again, this is not meant to be the end all be all. This is not meant to be the deciding factor for you in which ship you're going to go on. It's just meant to be an additional resource as you do your research and try to decide which one you want to sail on. And hey, if you're interested in going on Independence of the Seas or any other Royal Caribbean ship you've heard us mention, we are travel agents. We'd love to make that happen. And our services are always complimentary and you will not pay more going through us than you will booking direct. And in fact, you could even end up paying less. So we'd love to make that happen. If you're interested in that, feel free reaching out via the travel agent information at the end of this video. If you've recently booked within the past 60 days and you haven't made final payment, you can transfer over to us free of charge. We'd love to help you any way that we can, so we hope we'll hear from you soon. But we are going to sign off for this video and for Independence of the Seas for the final time. We'll see you on the next series, but until then,
happy travel!
Wow, 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 wow.